Chapter 2552. Swoosh, 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 countless pairs of eyes were gathered on him. The VIPs were also attracted by Xia Lingling's words. That's right. This Miss Yi was so close with Gui Wu. And she was treated as a VIP by the patriarch. But they didn't see Yi Qing Luo presenting any gifts to the patriarch. That row of 10 over people. Only Gui Wu alone had presented a birthday gift. But Gui Wu was standing right here. It didn't matter whether he presented a gift or not. His presence here was a huge gift. But who was Yi Luo? No matter how mysterious he was, he couldn't be compared to Gui Wu, right? Gui Wu had presented a birthday gift. Yi Luo should have presented a gift no matter what. The VIPs were in a heated discussion as they were all curious about what gift Yi Qing Luo had prepared for Yin Xinghao. But with the heaven recovering serene pill, no matter what Yi Qing Luo presented, it probably wouldn't be able to surpass the heaven recovering serene pill. Yin Xinghao coughed lightly and was about to dissuade her. What status did Yi Luo have? He indeed didn't understand. But he knew that Yi Luo was absolutely not an ordinary person. His 50th birthday, it wasn't important whether to present a gift or not. The important thing was, because Yi Luo had come to attend his birthday banquet, only Gui Wu would come. Gui Wu was the best gift that Yi Luo had given him. Only, Yin Xinghao didn't have the chance to say this out. But he was stopped by a pair of slender eyes. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled as she blinked at Yin Xinghao, as though she was transmitting some kind of message to him. Yin Xinghao stiffened as he understood the deep meaning behind Yi Qing Luo's eyes. She asked him not to show himself. This lady. What was she trying to do? Why isn't Miss Yi saying anything? Could it be that you didn't prepare any gift at all? Xia Lingling stood up complacently as she finally had the pleasure of stepping on Yi Qing Luo's head. Lan Ling Noa lowered her voice as she tugged Xia Lingling's sleeve. Lingling, Miss Yi specially followed this 3,000 Peach Blossom group leader to attend Patriarch's birthday banquet. How could she possibly not bring any gift? After a pause, she revealed an understanding smile. Moreover, with the Northern Wave Imperial family's gift of the heaven-returning nether pill, how could Miss Ye's gift be presentable? Just one sentence had demoted Yi Qing Luo to intentionally riding on Tao Tao's momentum to attend the sovereign's birthday banquet. Everyone present was a distinguished guest. Naturally, they would think so. To think that a young lass would resort to such underhanded methods to freeload into the Grand Master's birthday banquet. His goal was nothing more than to be able to squeeze into the eyes of those large forces, or to be able to hook up with a few rich and powerful suitors. Although, this Miss Yi had a close relationship with the ghost martial artist. And he seemed to have a close relationship with the representative of the Heavenly Academy. However, it was hard to say whether he had done some shady business to gain the favor of those big shots. Hearing Lan Ling Noa's praise and flattery, Xia Lingling felt even more pleased. The gaze he shot towards Yi Qing Luo was filled with even more ridicule and ridicule. This little slut actually dared to incite Yin Yanxiu to chase her out of the Qin Yu sect in front of everyone. She was the most favored little princess of the royal family. What was Yin Yanxiu? Now, hadn't she still swaggered into the birthday banquet? Didn't Yin Yanxiu still have to receive her with a smiling face? Their royal family had gifted such a precious pill like the heaven-returning nether pill. Wouldn't the Qin Yu sect be kneeling down and begging for mercy? Begging for her forgiveness for their unreasonable actions earlier? Then she would be able to push all the winds towards Yi Luo. It was that slut who instigated discord between the royal family and the Qin Yu sect. In order to save the royal family, the Qin Yu sect would definitely chase that slut Yi Luo out in front of everyone. Star. Chapter 2553. Whenever he thought of that bastard Yi Luo being chased out by the Qinhua clan in the most humiliating way possible, he would feel a chill run down his spine. Xia Lingling felt delighted and carefree. Uncle June is really thoughtful. He knew that it was the patriarch's birthday and started preparing a month in advance. Xiao Lingling hugged Xiao Ji's arm intimately and flattered him proudly. I don't want someone to take advantage of other people's power to attend the birthday party without preparing a birthday gift. Xiao Ji smiled amiably and touched Xiao Lingling's head. But he didn't say anything. He agreed with Xiao Lingling's words. The surrounding honored guests pointed at them and discussed animatedly. That's right, the North Wave monarch was a busy man, but when he found out about the sect master's birthday celebration, he prepared a birthday gift for her a month in advance. This showed that he truly placed the sect master in his heart. Compared to that little girl, he wanted to freeload on a birthday banquet, but he didn't even prepare a birthday gift. Furthermore, he even dared to strut around in the sect master's territory and behave atrociously. Many VIPs recalled the scene of Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Noa arguing with Yi Qing Luo at the entrance not long ago. In the end, the two princesses were chased out of the Qinghua clan. The crowd of distinguished guests started to despise Yi Qing Luo even more. However, he had forgotten that it was Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Noa who had provoked him from the beginning. Sister. How could those people say that about you? Kitty. Kitty wants to tear their mouths apart. Kitty Lee struggled in Zhou Mo's arms. She was so angry that her eyes were red, and her little claws kept flailing. Zhou Mo's large palm wrapped around Kitty Lee's claws as he hugged her tightly. Don't be rash. Can't you see that Xiao Qing Luo isn't angry at all? Big sis isn't angry, but Kitty is. Kitty Lee pouted, her voice hoarse from anger. Does Qing Luo look like someone who would allow others to bully her? Yan Xiaoyi leaned into Xiao Jin's arms and raised her eyelids disapprovingly. She opened her mouth to take the peeled grapes that Xiao Jin handed over. Everyone shook their heads. Doesn't look like it. Kitty Lee calmed down, but her eyes were still filled with anger when she looked at the people around her. It was as if he couldn't wait to kill all those who had insulted his sister with his eyes. Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Noa were still trying their best to defame Yi Qing Luo. They were determined to make the people from Qin Yu clan chase Yi Qing Luo out in front of everyone, so as to dispel the hatred in their hearts. In the beginning, there were many distinguished guests. He was afraid that Gui Wu was here, so he didn't dare to curry favor with Monarch Beilan. After all, Yi Qing Luo and Gui Wu had arrived at the birthday banquet together. Gui Wu also alighted from Yi Qing Luo's carriage. However, Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Noa had quarreled to such an extent. Almost half of the people present were pointing fingers at Yi Qing Luo, as their words were filled with endless contempt and ridicule. Gui Wu did not say a single word. Even the sect master and young sect master who stood on Yi Qing Luo's side didn't open their mouths to stop her. Apparently, he had no intention to help Yi Qing Luo. As a result, many people became more courageous. Very quickly, other than the tens of families who were wise to protect themselves and didn't want to offend anyone, the other VIPs all expressed their disdain towards Yi Qing Luo. Xiao Lingling and Lan Ling Noa looked at each other. His face was filled with arrogance and pride. "Heh," a chuckle rang softly in the main hall. It was obviously a chuckle, but it easily suppressed everyone's soft discussions. Chapter 2554. Her action of getting up was extremely slow, as though she was extremely lazy. Her fiery red long dress, along with her action of getting up, was like a raging flame, pouring down in torrents. That elegant and ordinary face, at this moment, looked extremely enchanting. Her pink lips rose slightly as she gave off a low chuckle. She originally wanted to be a bystander, allowing the two of them to show off. But those two insisted on dragging her into the water. Then she couldn't be blamed for not giving face to the North Wave royal family. After all, this was Xiao Lingling, who put her face in front of her, allowing her to slap it. What are you trying to do? Trying to use brute force? Xiao Lingling saw Yi Qing Luo smile and felt goosebumps all over her body. Lan Ling Noa's heart tightened. Could it be that this slut still had some tricks up her sleeves? No. Even if she had prepared a birthday gift. No matter what, it absolutely couldn't be compared to Yi Qing Huitian's serene pill. Thinking of this, Lan Ling Nua immediately held Xia Lingling's hand as she pursed her red lips. Yi Luo, you. Mind the occasion. This is Sovereign's birthday banquet. Do you still want to make a move on us in front of everyone? Make a move? The VIPs looked at Lan Ling Nua in puzzlement. Xia Lingling had also mentioned the word brute force earlier. Could it be? Did this Yi Luo often make a move on the two continents' princess? Seeing that the VIPs had already guessed in the direction that they were leading, Xia Lingling and Lan Ling Nua's eyes surfaced a cold smile. As expected, Xia Ji's expression darkened as he lowered his head to look at Xia Lingling. Lingling. You're saying that young lady called Yi Luo had made a move on you? Xia Lingling was the North Wave royal family's most pampered little princess. There was actually someone who dared to make a move on her. Wasn't this provoking the royal family's prestige? Xia Lingling immediately lowered her head as she put on an aggrieved look. Uncle Monarch, it's Lingling's skills that are not good enough. Lingling is not her match. Presumptuous. Xia Ji slammed the table as his expression darkened. How dare you make a move on my Lingling? How dare you? His gaze turned sharp as he stared coldly at Yi Qing Luo. Young lady, I want to know, why did you make a move on the North Wave continent's little princess? The entire birthday banquet fell into a deathly silence. No one would speak at this critical juncture. Even Yin Qinghao was staring blankly at Yi Qing Luo, not knowing what he was thinking about. As the birthday boy, Yin Qinghao didn't say anything. The others naturally wouldn't say anything either. Make a move. Yi Qing Luo smiled lazily with an indifferent attitude. If I make a move on you, will the Northland monarch just stand there and let me hit you? Or will he retaliate? You. How dare you? Xia Ji had not expected that he had already unleashed his overlord's prestige, but Yi Qing Luo actually looked down on him. The dignity of a sovereign caused Xia Ji to be filled with rage. Are you declaring war on the Northern Wave continent? No. Yi Qing Luo raised a finger and shook it. I'm merely stating the facts. Following that, she pointed towards Xia Lingling. She hit me so I retaliate. She can't beat me so she can only take a beating. This is very normal, isn't it? Saying that, she shrugged her shoulders as she put on a bored look. Or could it be that the dignified Northland monarch wanted to bully a weak lady like me, but because you're a trash, you got beaten up instead and even went to complain? Oh, if little princess is really a trash to this extent, then I have nothing else to say. You this. The word slut hadn't even left her mouth when Xia Lingling's wrist was suddenly grabbed. Chapter 2555. Don't panic. Lan Ling Nua warned in a low voice. Xia Lingling's eyes turned red as tears of humiliation started to well up. Yi Qing Luo actually dared to humiliate her in such an unbridled manner in front of her uncle monarch. Cough cough. Xia Ji was agitated by Yi Qing Luo's words as he coughed awkwardly. He really wanted to reply. His Ling Ling was a respectable princess. She was merely a student who didn't know her identity and had to rely on the 3,000 forces to attend the birthday banquet. It was her honor for Ling Ling to lay her hands on her. But in front of so many people, in front of so many influential people from various continents. No matter what, he couldn't show this as a matter of course. Although, Ling Ling's character is a little rash, but she is the Northern Continent's princess and I am the Northern Continent's monarch. You're so arrogant and disrespectful to me. Are you looking down on the entire Northern Continent? Xia Ji's sharp eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo fiercely as he said every single word with great force. He wanted to stir up the various forces in the Northern Continent to feel disgusted towards Yi Qing Luo. He was the dignified Northern Continent's monarch, but was stepped on by a junior like this? Wasn't this blatantly stepping on their Northern Continent's head? Xia Ji's sinister gaze looked at the crowd and finally fell onto a certain spot. Over there, sat Yuan Zhan. Ever since Xia Ji appeared, Yuan Zhan tried his best to hide his existence. Now his entire family in the Battle King's residence was under Xia Ji's control. He came to attend the birthday banquet in order to rebel against the imperial power. Now he was caught by Xia Ji on the spot. He naturally had a guilty conscience. He didn't expect Xia Ji to spot him who was hiding in the crowd. Looking at Xia Ji's slightly squinted eyes, that slightly plump face was filled with an amiable smile. He was very clear. How much murderous intent was hidden behind Xia Ji's smile. I heard General Battle King said that there's a lady called Yi Luo who also looks down on his Battle King's residence. I guess he's talking about Missy? Xia Ji smiled amiably, and when he asked, his tone was also very amiable. But Yuan Zhan heard the chill in his words. If it was in the past, Yuan Zhan wouldn't care about Xia Ji's threat at all. In front of him, even Xia Ji had to be courteous. But now that the warlord's mansion had lost its power, he had nothing to be proud of. Hearing Xia Ji's question, he calmed himself down for a long time before he could suppress the raging anger in his chest. He said word by word, yes. Xia Ji looked at Yuan Zhan, who looked like a stray dog in satisfaction as he sneered, and looked at Yi Qing Luo. Miss Yi, this is Qinhua Sec's sovereign's birthday banquet. I don't want to be calculative with a young lady like you. How about this? Just apologize to Ling Ling and today's matter will be over. Ling Ling is kind-hearted, so I'm sure she won't be calculative with you. Uncle Monarch. Xia Lingling looked happy and grateful. She hugged Xia Ji's arm and acted like a spoiled child. He even stuck out his tongue at Yi Qing Luo in a proud and provocative manner. Yi Qing Luo couldn't help but laugh when she heard Xia Ji talking to himself. Her laughter grew louder and louder. Finally, he burst out laughing. She propped one hand on the table and covered her stomach with the other. Her smile was extremely devilish and enchanting. The arrogance on Xia Ji's face slowly stiffened. The surrounding guests were shocked by Yi Qing Luo's laughter as they turned silent. They seemed to be extremely puzzled. At this juncture, Chapter 2556. North Lawn Monarch, you can't slander me. How could I not put the North Lawn continent in my eyes? Yi Qing Luo giggled as her fine black hair scattered over her shoulders. Along with her laughter, it swayed wantonly. Everyone's naked gaze made Xia Ling Ling and Lan Ling Noa gritted their teeth. Especially Lan Ling Noa, her little face, which was hidden in the dark, was twisted into a ball. Yi Luo, that slut. She obviously looked ordinary, but she seduced so many men to fall for her. Stroking her hair coquettishly, did she really think that all men would fall for her tricks? She was just a trash who didn't have any looks or figure. But no matter how jealous she was, she absolutely could not show it. She was the East Lawn princess. She must maintain the bearing and prestige of the East Lawn princess. Lan Ling Noa suppressed her anger. As for Xia Ji, after hearing Yi Qing Luo's reply, he gave a satisfied smile. This lady knew how to adapt to circumstances. She knew not to be enemies with the North Lawn continent. Looking at Yi Qing Luo's enchanting temperament and graceful figure, Xia Ji's entire body was covered with a nameless flame. The gaze which he looked at Yi Qing Luo became more and more passionate. Yi Qing Luo only felt a nauseous feeling surging up her heart. That pair of smiling eyes suddenly became sharp at this moment. Her gaze was like a torch, and the cold smile on her lips made one feel terrified. I merely didn't put you in my eyes. Every word was enunciated extremely clearly. The smile on Xia Ji's face froze bit by bit. Yi Qing Luo's brows curved, but there wasn't a hint of a smile in her eyes. Since when did North Lawn Monarch represent the entire North Lawn continent? You. Xia Ji was almost angered to death by Yi Qing Luo's words as his face flushed red. Yi Qing Luo's words were totally ridiculing him for overestimating his own ability. Ridiculing him for representing the North Lawn continent in front of Qin Yu sect and Yin Qinghao. If these words were to be spread out, the various forces in the North Lawn continent would absolutely not tolerate him. His position as the monarch might not be stable at all. Furthermore, your little princess is such a wastrel. She wants to take advantage of her power to bully others, but she doesn't have the strength to do so. How can I be blamed for this? Yi Qing Luo shrugged her shoulders disapprovingly and even rolled her eyes at Xia Ji, but... I'm a little curious. Little Region Lord is so arrogant and despotic in Qinghua City, and every single word and sentence doesn't stray away from her status as a Region Lord. Could it be that Monarch Beilan had taught Little Region Lord something, making Little Region Lord think that, as a member of the royal family, she could go against the heavens and earth? Xia Ji's face instantly turned livid. Yi Qing Luo's words were all ridiculing the Northern Wave's royal family. They even wanted to use this matter to drive a wedge between the royal family and the other powers of the Northern Wave's continent. You're talking nonsense. Xiao Lingling didn't expect that everything would go according to her expectations. On the contrary, it was the North Wave royal family who were forced by Yi Qing Luo till they had no way to resist. Xiao Lingling was so infuriated that her cheeks turned red as she stared at Yi Qing Luo furiously. This princess is a member of the royal family and every action represents the royal family's reputation. How could this princess be as arrogant and despotic as you said? You're slandering me. Chapter 2557. Xia Lingling's complaint allowed Xia Ji to find a point to refute. Xia Ji's face immediately darkened, and he shouted angrily, I saw that you are young, so I wanted to let you off. I didn't expect that you would even try to discredit the imperial family. What is your purpose in coming to the Northern Tide continent? What are you trying to do? Faced with the accusations of the Xia family, Yi Qing Luo expressed that she didn't mind at all. It was rare for Xia Lingling to be smart. She knew that in this way, she would bite back at her. Xia Ji was very cooperative. Next, it should be Yuan Zhan's turn to continue the show. She also didn't remember interrupting the royal family's carefully planned show. Since the people of the Northern Wave imperial family wanted to walk further and further down the path of courting death, she naturally wouldn't stop them. If they were going to tear each other apart, then they might as well tear each other to their heart's content. After tearing them apart, they would know what despair was. That was the most memorable experience. As expected, the next moment, Yuan Zhan stood up and stared at Yi Qing Luo as though he was looking at the enemy who killed his father. This time, Yuan Zhan did not speak because of Xia Ji's coercion. His words were filled with resentment and accusation. She was definitely sent by another continent to destroy the foundation of our Northern Wave continent. Someone wants to attack the Northern Wave continent. They actually used such despicable methods. Yuan Zhan had already guessed it a long time ago. Yi Luo arrived at the Northern Wave continent. He pressed forward step by step. His Battle King's mansion was reduced to such a state. He was also secretly making a move against the Miao Gu family. Miao Yixiong didn't dare to admit it in public, so Yi Qing Luo must have something on him. However, he knew very well that Yi Luo, that bastard, would never spare the Miao tribe. Now, Yi Luo's target was the imperial family. Yi Luo was definitely a spy from another country. They wanted to use this method to slowly devour the main forces of the Northern Wave continent. And then, annihilate them in one fell swoop. Sovereign Beilan and Warlord General's words caused all the distinguished guests present to gasp. All of them looked at Yi Qing Luo in disbelief. They naturally understood the deeper meaning behind the words of the people from the Northern Wave imperial family. This girl, a spy from another country? Did they want to invade the Northern Wave continent? Then, wouldn't it be their continent's turn next? When the guests thought of this, their faces turned pale. Seeing the VIPs being led by their words to look at Yi Qing Luo with hatred. A hint of delight flashed across Xia Lingling's eyes. How dare he humiliate her? She would make sure that Yi Luo, that bastard, would lose his life and walk out of Qinghua City alive. It didn't matter if Yi Luo was a spy from another country. No matter what Yi Luo's identity was. As long as they made a big deal out of this. Yi Luo would die without a doubt. He would rather kill the wrong person than let the wrong one go. This was the only way to eliminate all future troubles. How dare you, Yi Luo? Hurry up and tell me the truth. What continent are you from? What is your identity? What is your purpose in coming to the Northern Wave continent? Xia Ji banged the table hard as he pointed at Yiqing Luo, as though he was a criminal who had committed the most heinous crime. Today I will investigate this clearly in front of sect master and various powerhouses. I didn't expect you to be scheming to corrupt my imperial family and invade the Northern Wave continent. The group of people echoed each other. The person who was being criticized, on the other hand, was blowing his nails with a lazy and bored expression. Until Xia Ji stopped reprimanding. A few pairs of eyes were filled with hatred as they looked at her. Yiqing Luo then leisurely shifted her gaze back. Chapter 2558. All the distinguished guests were speechless. This young lady really could infuriate someone to death the minute she opened her mouth. Northlawn Monarch and Northlawn Princess were complaining passionately. A group of people were pointing and discussing. In Yiqing Luo's eyes, it was just a show. And it was a show that wasn't very interesting. This attitude, was she treating the few people from the Northlawn royal family as monkeys watching a show? The few people from the Northlawn royal family were stunned by Yiqing Luo's reaction and had yet to regain their senses. Yiqing Luo had already leisurely walked out from her seat. Her fiery red dress bloomed gracefully like a blazing rose, extremely dazzling. This redness dazzled many people's eyes. It also dyed Xia Lingling's eyes red. Yiqing Luo flipped her palm and her slender fingertip was a delicate porcelain medicine bottle. She shook it and casually threw it into the air and caught it casually. This is my birthday gift to Qin Yu Sect Sovereign. Medicine bottle? It was also a medicinal pill? Xia Lingling's scarlet eyes widened instantly. You're also giving medicinal pills? Sovereign uncle already has the heaven recovering serene pill. Why are you still giving medicinal pills? Lingling, now is not the time to argue about the birthday gift. Lan Ling Noa pulled Xia Lingling's arm as her brows were filled with vigilance and solemnity, then she looked toward Xia Ji. Northlawn Monarch, no matter what, we must investigate Miss Yi Luo's real identity. We absolutely cannot allow anyone to attempt to destroy the peace of our 4 continents. Xia Lingling had a righteous and duty-bound attitude. Xia Ji nodded his head solemnly. What East Lawn Princess said is right. Miss Ye's appearance, and every single thing that Miss Yi had done, is simply too suspicious. I feel that we should indeed investigate Miss Ye's identity. Saying that, Xia Ji didn't wait for the surrounding people's reaction. He had already raised his head and his eyes were like torches as he stared straight at Yin Qinghao. Sovereign, because of Miss Yi Luo's matter, it has affected Sovereign's birthday banquet. It's my fault. Now I will bring Miss Yi Luo back to the palace to carry out a strict investigation. He waved his hand and Yuan Zhan and a group of royal guards who popped out from nowhere, swarmed towards Yiqing Luo. None of them were fools. Who wouldn't be able to tell that Monarch Beilan had planned this long ago, to bring Yiqing Luo away from Qinhua clan? These royal guards had probably been waiting in the dark for a long time. He had been waiting for this moment to come out. Xia Ji looked at Yiqing Luo who was surrounded by the royal guards as his lips curled into a smirk. Today's offense of disturbing the birthday banquet, I will personally come and repay you in the future. Xia Lingling and Lan Ling Nua were delighted. They quickly stood up and followed behind Xia Ji. They were about to leave in a carefree manner. A few screams could be heard. Xia Ji and the others just turned their heads. He was immediately pressed down by a few black shadows. Ah, Xia Lingling screamed. He was pinned to the ground by the black shadow. Lan Ling Nua was not spared either. The 2 women fell to the ground. Xia Ji reacted quickly. When the black shadow attacked, he quickly took a few steps back and avoided the collision with the black shadow. Bang, bang, bang. There were a few consecutive sounds of collisions, and black shadows pounced over uniformly. Xia Ji stabilized his footsteps and saw a few royal guards lying on the ground in front of him. And there were 2 royal guards pressing down on Xia Lingling and Lan Ling Nua. The 2 women's screams were deafening. So much that Xia Ji's head started to hurt. Looking at the royal guards lying by his feet, each and every one of them were hugging their wounds, wailing in pain. Chapter 25:59. Yi Luo, how dare you? You dare to attack the guards of the royal family. You. Do you have a guilty conscience? Xia Ji's face was cold. Every word he said was full of anger. Oh. Get lost. Get out of my way. Xia Lingling screamed in a shrill voice. Lan Ling Nua pushed the person on her away like crazy. Lowly dog. How dare you touch me? I'm going to kill you. The two women gritted their teeth and pushed the guards on top of them. With great difficulty, they managed to get out from under the guards. However, the two women's clothes were disheveled from the struggle. Especially Lan Ling Nua. Her white gauze dress was torn into several pieces under the intense struggle. Her clothes were messy, and her shoulders were half exposed. Her hair that was carefully tied up was scattered. She was simply charming to the extreme. Countless male guests' eyes were almost glued to Lan Ling Nua's delicate and fair skin. Even Xia Ji's eyes were fixed on Lan Ling Nua's half-exposed fair skin. Lan Ling Nua stood up while cursing. When she noticed the surrounding gazes, her face darkened instantly. She screamed and hugged herself. Xia Lingling heaved a sigh of relief. She quickly stood aside and tidied up her messy clothes. Fortunately, Lan Ling Nua, that coquettish fox, attracted everyone's attention. Swoosh. A green cannon covered Lan Ling Nua's body. Lan Ling Nua was so ashamed and angry that she was about to cry. She was covered by a wave of warmth. The robe that covered her body emitted a light and elegant fragrance. It was different from the sweaty smell that she had smelled on various men. She grabbed the robe with both hands, and her delicate body trembled slightly. Soon after, he raised his head in delight. What came into view was an extremely handsome face. His dark and deep eyes glanced at her indifferently and then quickly moved away. Lan Ling Nua's heart was beating rapidly. His eyes widened, revealing a look of ecstasy. Young master, she spoke in a hoarse voice and was so excited that she wanted to jump into the arms of the man in front of her. Wasn't the man in front of her Yi Nianxiu? The robe that covered her body was Yi Nianxiu's outer robe. It was Yi Nianxiu who appeared and saved her. Lan Ling Nua's heart pounded. Countless illusions exploded in his mind. Her lips curled up into an extremely twisted and excited smile. Young clan master. Thank you for saving Nua. Nua has no way to repay you, Princess Donglan. He blocked Lan Ling Nua's body with one hand. Yi Nianxiu avoided Lan Ling Nua and took a few steps back. His voice was cold and indifferent. I do not wish to attract any criticism that has nothing to do with my father's birthday banquet. He paused for a moment before his gaze landed on Lan Ling Nua, who had an awkward expression on her face. Since you have entered the Qinhua clan and are standing in the main hall of the birthday banquet, you are a guest of the Qinhua clan. If it was any other woman today, I would have helped her. You don't have to take it to heart and I don't need anything in return. With just a few simple sentences, he had completely severed his relationship with Lan Ling Nua. Lan Ling Nua's words of devote myself to him were stuck in her throat. She wrapped the robe tightly around her body. He gritted his teeth. No, she didn't believe it. Yi Nianxiu must have taken a fancy to her beauty and that was why he had helped her. He didn't admit it because he was shy. No man could escape from her peerless beauty. Chapter 25:60. His attitude made the surrounding guests nod as if they were suddenly enlightened. Their faces were filled with ambiguous smiles. Yi Nianxiu's expression darkened slightly. His indifferent eyes flickered slightly. A trace of haze flashed past. However, Lan Ling Nua did not notice the change in Yi Nianxiu's eyes. She saw that the surrounding guests had already started to treat her and Yi Nianxiu as a couple. She was secretly pleased. As long as everyone thought that she was the woman that the young lord of Chinua sect admired. Then she would definitely become the future madam of Chinua sect. With the young lord of Chinua sect. The young lord of Chinua sect that she had always yearned for could be thrown to the back of her mind. She listened to the surrounding people discussing the relationship between her and Yi Nianxiu. Lan Ling Noa could not suppress the smile on her face. Bit by bit, she raised her head shyly and looked at him shyly. But Yi Nianxiu's eyes did not look at her at all. Instead, he stared unblinkingly at Xia Ji. It was as if he did not put her in his eyes at all. Lan Ling Noa clenched her fist and was about to open her mouth to attract Yi Nianxiu's attention. She had many ways to make Yi Nianxiu completely infatuated with her. However, at the moment when she was about to open her mouth, Yi Nianxiu's cold voice sounded. Sovereign Beilan, Chinua sect respects you as a sovereign and does not want to offend you. However, if you want to take away our guest, you have to ask if Chinua sect is willing to let them go. He spoke calmly, enunciating each word clearly and calmly. No one could hear the emotion in his words. Xia Ji frowned and released the majesty of a sovereign. His face darkened. Young lord, this person is a spy sent by another continent. As the sovereign Beilan, I have the right to investigate thoroughly. Yi Nianxiu was fearless. He looked into Xia Ji's eyes indifferently. This is just your speculation. There is no actual evidence. How can I let them go? He paused and his tone suddenly changed. His voice was sharp. Are you saying that if you suspect someone, you have to take that person away from Chinua sect? If the guests of my Chinua sect are allowed to be taken away by the imperial family, where do you think my Chinua sect is? The powerful question made Xia Ji's face turn as black as charcoal. He tensed up with anger. The bright yellow dragon robe wrapped tightly around the extra fat on his body. Never in his wildest dreams would he have thought the Chinua sect was willing to do this for a woman. She made things difficult for him in public. It seemed that his niece was right. The Chinua sect must have colluded with a spy from another country. A piercingly cold light flashed across Xia Ji's eyes, and his voice was gloomy. So, young sect master insists on stopping it? The Chinua sect has always upheld the principle of mutual respect. Since the North Wave monarch doesn't place the Chinua sect in his eyes, then the Chinua sect will not take a step back either. Yi Nianxiu's attitude was very firm. He was not suppressed by Xia Ji's aura at all. The Chinua sect had already made their stance clear. Xia Ji couldn't make a decision at the moment. If Yi Luo was forcibly taken away, the imperial family would definitely become enemies with the Chinua sect. The Chinua sect was one of the 4 major sections. The power of the imperial family might not be able to keep them in check. Moreover, it was very likely that the Chinua sect had colluded with other continents. Xia Ji was still deep in thought. Xia Lingling wasn't that patient, and she wouldn't consider anything other than her own interests. Chapter 2561. As a result, Xia Lingling directly rushed in front of Yi Nianxiu and angrily accused him, Brother Xiu, have you also been bewitched by that vixen? If the Northern Wave's imperial family doesn't put the Chinua sect in their eyes, why would they negotiate with you in such a polite manner? Yi Nianxiu frowned, lowered his head, and glanced at Xia Lingling perfunctorily. Lingling. Xia Ji's face darkened. He immediately stepped forward and wanted to grab Xia Lingling's arm to pull her back. However, he heard a sweet-sounding laugh spread over. At this critical juncture. In this kind of atmosphere. This laughter of joy and mockery was extremely obvious and eye-catching. Everyone's gaze followed the sound. The girl who was originally surrounded by the royal guards stepped on one of the guards. She had one arm around her chest and the other was holding the porcelain medicine bottle. The corners of her mouth curled up as a mocking laugh escaped from her mouth. It was clear and melodious. However, it also caused people to be shocked for no reason. Yi Luo. Xia Lingling's eyes were filled with hatred when she saw the girl. Yi Qing Luo looked at Xia Ling Ling with a beaming face as she tilted her head and gave a lazy smile. Tisk. Little Region Lord represents the royal family, saying that the royal family doesn't. Don't put the Qin Yu sect in their eyes, you really dare to say that? Xia Lingling's eyes flashed fiercely. You're a spy from another country. How dare you try to sow discord between the royal family and the Qinhua sect? Do you think we're all fools? Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as she asked smilingly, then your royal family are treating the Qin Yu clan as fools and playing with them? What nonsense are you spouting? Xia Lingling couldn't wait to rush up and tear Yi Qing Luo's mouth apart. Do you want to know what pill is in this bottle in my hand? Yi Qing Luo changed the topic again as she shook the pill in the bottle. Xia Lingling gave a contemptuous glance at the porcelain bottle in Yi Qing Luo's hand. It was a medicine bottle carved from inferior porcelain. What kind of precious pill could it be? The pill in your hand has nothing to do with you being a spy from another country. Yi Luo, don't even think about stalling for time. Lan Ling Nua took the opportunity to speak. This also reminded Xia Lingling that Yi Qing Luo was planning to drag the time. Xia Lingling snorted coldly, this is the Northern Wave continent. Yi Luo, are you trying to buy time for your companions to save you? This is impossible. Yi Qing Luo was still that languid, with a casual look. What a coincidence, the medicinal pill in my hands is exactly the heaven-returning serene pill. After the 5 words, heaven-restoring yuan serene pill, came out, the surroundings instantly fell into deathly silence. Even Xia Lingling was stunned for a moment. After coming to his senses, she suddenly burst into laughter. Ha ha ha. Yi Luo, even if you want to stall for time, you should at least find a proper excuse. You said that the pill in that broken bottle was a heaven-restoring nether pill? Ha ha ha. What a joke. Lan Ling Nua, who was at the side, also covered her mouth and laughed with a disdainful expression. Miss Yi, don't you know that the heaven-returning serene pill is refined from the heaven-returning serene grass? As for the heavenly primordial serene grass, there was only one in 1,000 years. This one and only stock is in the hands of Monarch Bei Lan, and he had specially refined it into the heaven-restoring yuan serene pill, gifted to sovereign as a birthday gift. You still dare to say that the medicinal pill in your hands is the heaven-restoring yuan serene pill? Aren't you afraid of making others laugh at you? Lan Ling Nua's words made the crowd burst into laughter. This young lady, she could just casually say any precious high-grade medicinal pill would do. She had to use the heaven-restoring yuan serene pill which Monarch Bei Lan had just gifted to Sovereign Yin to stall for time. Wasn't this clearly telling everyone she was a liar? Chapter 2562. Amidst the laughter from the crowd, Yi Qing Luo narrowed her long and narrow eyes, but there wasn't a trace of panic on her expression. Instead, she tilted her head as she looked at Xia Ji with a slight smile and said word by word, "That's right, heaven-returning element serene grass, 1 stalk every 1,000 years. But how can Sovereign Bei Lan be so sure that your heaven-returning element serene pill is real?" The moment she said that, the surrounding crowd burst into an uproar. This young lady actually doubted that the pill given by Sovereign Bei Lan was fake. How could he insist that his pills were real? This was simply unheard of. One was the sovereign of North Lan continent. The other was a young lass with unknown origins. One was a precious moonlight porcelain medicine bottle. The other was a low-grade celadone medicine bottle. No matter who it was, they would not believe that. That unknown young lady's low-grade celadone medicine bottle contained the real heaven-returning element serene pill. Xia Ling Ling laughed even more happily. "Yi Luo, you're too funny. Uncle Sovereign is the monarch of a dynasty. Would he use a fake pill to deceive Uncle Sovereign? Do you know that by slandering Uncle Sovereign, other than being a spy from another country, you will also be charged with disrespecting the North Lan royal family, insulting and slandering the monarch?" Lan Ling Nua wrapped her brocade robe tightly as her slender fingers gripped tightly onto the brocade robe with exquisite embroidery as she looked at Yi Nianxiu gently. Seeing his calm eyes staring at Yi Qing Luo without blinking, as though he was contemplating whether Yi Luo was a liar or not. She stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo's direction as she raised her head and said, "Just ask, who here would believe your nonsense?" Yi Luo, stop struggling. If you're really not a spy from another country, then you should leave with Sovereign Beilan with a clear conscience so that he can investigate your identity and prove your innocence. Lan Ling Noa's words made the guests nod their heads in agreement. If he really had a clear conscience, then shouldn't he prove his innocence? But there were some who questioned softly. This was obviously Sovereign Beilan targeting Yi Luo for his niece. If Yi Luo really left with Sovereign Beilan, what innocence was there to speak of? However, Sovereign Beilan was present at the scene. This little bit of doubt didn't cause any waves at all. It was suppressed by countless voices of agreement. You're stalling for time and slandering Sovereign Beilan for using fake elixirs to deceive the sect master. Isn't it because you have a guilty conscience and want to stall for time? Lan Ling Noa noticed that everyone's gazes were focused on her. She purposely puffed out her chest and showed off the long robe covering her body. In the next instant, a tender and affectionate smile appeared at the corner of her mouth, and she looked at Yin Yanxiu tenderly. "Big brother Xiu, tell me, am I right?" Yin Yanxiu frowned slightly as if he was disgusted by Lan Ling Noa calling him Big Brother Xiu. He didn't even bother to look at Lan Ling Noa. He looked up at Xia Ji and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "Lady Yi is a good friend of mine and is also a guest that I personally welcomed into Qin Yu clan. If there's a problem with Miss Ye's identity, I won't be able to escape the blame. I believe in Lady Ye's character, so, in order to verify Lady Ye's words, I, as the young sect master, plead the Alchemist Guild to represent Elder Weao to check if Lady Ye's elixir is the heaven-recovering tranquil pill." Yin Yanxiu's words made everyone look at Yi Qing Luo with a strange gaze. Chapter 2563. The main hall was in an uproar. Xia Ji's expression was extremely gloomy. Yin Yanxiu's words, it could be said to have given him 2 resounding slaps on his face. He was overflowing with evil intentions as he stared unblinkingly at the celadone bottle in Yi Qing Luo's hands. He naturally didn't believe that the medicinal pill in Yi Qing Luo's hands was the real heaven-recovering serene pill. He was certain that the medicinal pill which he had presented was the real heaven-recovering serene pill. Right from the start, Xia Ji had no intention to present such a high-grade medicinal pill like the heaven-recovering serene pill. If it wasn't for Xia Lingling, for the royal family's face, he would not possibly take out the heaven-recovering serene pill. That slut, how dare she doubt that his medicinal pill was fake? Yin Yanxiu, that fellow, also stood on that slut's side, making him lose face in front of everyone? Xia Ji sneered as his gaze slowly shifted onto Yin Yanxiu. "Young sect master is really awe-inspiring. Previously I heard that young sect master had personally chased my little region princess out of Qinhua sect. I thought it was because little region princess was young and insensible, spouting nonsense in front of me. Now it seems that young sect master is extremely dissatisfied with the North Waves royal family. Chase little region princess out of Qinhua sect?" There were quite a number of VIPs present and they didn't know what had happened at the main residence's entrance. Hearing Xia Ji's words, the gazes which they shot towards Yin Yanxiu and Yi Luo became even more ambiguous. From the start to the end, young sect master seemed to have been standing on the young lady's side, speaking up for her, even going against the royal family. If it was said that young sect master had no interest in that young lady, they wouldn't believe it even if they were beaten to death. The surrounding people were pointing fingers at Yin Yanxiu, but he didn't bother about it. But Yi Qing Luo, who was a married woman, expressed, although Ah Xian wasn't by her side, scandals or whatever, absolutely must not be spread. Ah Xian, that vinegar jar. Even if it was completely unrelated vinegar, he could also drink till he flew up. Before Yin Yanxiu opened his mouth, Yi Qing Luo had already taken a few steps forward. A pair of long and narrow eyes stared at Xia Ji with a faint smile. She said with a smile, "As for why the young sect master asked the young princess to leave the Qinhua sect, Monarch Balon just needs to ask around and you will know the cause and effect. At this point, her voice turned cold and her eyes turned sharp. If you still think that it's the young sect master's fault when the time comes, then I'm sure everyone present will know the inner quality of the Northern Wave Imperial family. Xia Ji's eyelids suddenly twitched. He frowned and stared at the girl in front of him. This young girl was actually facing so many pairs of eyes. In the face of His Majesty as the ruler of a dynasty, he was still fearless and calm. He felt that this girl was definitely not a simple character. If they became enemies, it was not a wise move. Yiqing Luo didn't care what Monarch Balon was thinking about. She still maintained an extremely faint smile and tossed the pill bottle in her hand. As for whether these pills are real or fake, Elder Wu Tao will check them, and we will know for sure. Don't even think about it. Yi Luo, I will not let you stall for time. The pills given by the Northern Wave Imperial family are absolutely not fake. Don't even think of playing any tricks. Xia Lingling opened her mouth to interrupt, with a face full of ridicule and ridicule. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she smiled and nodded her head. If you're really sure that the pills given by the Northern Wave Imperial family are real, then you should accept Elder Wu Tao's investigation with a clear conscience, so that Elder Wu Tao can clear the Northern Wave Imperial family's name. These words, why did it sound so familiar? Chapter 2564. Yiqing Luo tilted her head as she gave a light smile, or could it be that you have a guilty conscience? The birthday gift given to Sovereign, is it really fake? She used this kind of calm tone, saying something that made one's heart tremble. The crowd expressed that only this young lady was able to do it without any incongruity. Yiqing Luo took a look at the surrounding guests who were watching the show, and looked at Xia Ji, whose face was steely green as he suppressed his anger. She smiled even more joyously. Sovereign Northlan says that you put Qinghua sect in your eyes, but in your heart. Even the birthday gift given is fake. TSK, I really doubt Sovereign Northland's sincerity. Investigate. Investigate. Alright, I will get the Alchemist Guild to investigate. Xia Ji indeed wasn't agitated as he gritted his teeth and bellowed furiously, but young lass, once the Alchemist Guild finds out that your medicinal pills are fake, your crime will be added with another. Slandering the royal family is a capital crime. Yiqing Luo's brows rose as she lifted a lock of hair which was hanging on her shoulder, curling it on her fingertips as she smiled casually. Then what if it is confirmed that your medicinal pills are fake? How could my medicinal pills be fake? Xia Ji's face was filled with anger. Yiqing Luo replied with a smile, my medicinal pills are also not fake. Xia Ji's eyes turned gloomy as a vicious aura seeped out bit by bit. He clenched his fists as green veins popped out on his forehead. If my medicinal pills are fake, I will personally apologize to you in front of all the guests from the various continents. How much is your apology worth? Do you think I care about your apology? Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes without any hesitation. From the start to the end, he was creating trouble and targeting her. Just casually apologizing, and he thought that this matter could be brushed off. There was no practical benefit at all. She didn't have the time to waste on him. Xia Ji was so angry that he only felt a gush of heat surging up to his head. The anger in his chest seemed as though it was going to pour out in torrents. His eyes widened as his face and neck turned red, gritting his teeth, as though he couldn't wait to swallow the young lady in front of him alive. He was the dignified Sovereign Northlan. She actually despised him. There wasn't any respect towards him in her tone. Instead, they were filled with disdain and contempt. What right did a lowly woman have to look down on the sovereign of the Northern Wave continent? If Monarch Bay Land's pills are fake, then give me the Imperial family's permit. I can use my identity as a member of the Imperial family to enter and leave the Northern continent. Yiqing Luo seemed as though she hadn't seen Xia Ji's anger, as she continued to raise her own request. You. At this moment, Xia Ji was so angry that he couldn't even speak. At this moment, he deeply understood the meaning of Yi Qing Luo's sentence, "I don't put you in my eyes." Yi Luo, you are too presumptuous. Xiao Lingling's face turned red, and she slammed the table in anger. You're clearly not putting the Northern Wave imperial family in your eyes. You want to rebel? Yi Qing Luo blinked her eyes innocently, with an innocent smile and a puzzled look. Don't tell me I should put you in my eyes? Pfft, many honored guests couldn't help but laugh out loud. This girl was really infuriating to death without paying for it. Every word and sentence could poison someone to death in minutes. They couldn't win against her. And they couldn't really lower their own status to take action against her. They were angry and frustrated, but had nowhere to vent it out. TSK, luckily the people who had a conflict with her weren't them. Let's silently observe a moment of silence for the Northern Wave imperial family. Chapter 2565. You. Xiao Lingling pointed at Yi Qing Luo as her little face flushed red and twisted with anger. Yi Qing Luo smiled till her eyes curved as she continued, "Since you keep saying that my medicinal pills are fake and insist that I'm another country's spy, don't tell me that I'm not allowed to fight for my own rights and interests. What Miss Yi said is right." Suddenly, a deep voice rang from the main seat. Yin Xinghao, who had been silent all this while, looked at Yi Qing Luo with a torch-like gaze. On his face, there wasn't a single trace of annoyance for the birthday banquet being disturbed. Instead, his lips curled into a faint smile. "Although Miss Yi and I are just acquainted for the first time, but with this sect master's ability to read people for so many years, this sect master is willing to believe in Miss Ye's temperament." His voice was steady but also gentle. Following that, he looked towards Xia Ji as he gave a gentle smile. "Of course, this sect master also believes that sect master will not give me a fake birthday gift in front of everyone." Yin Xinghao's words made everyone scratch their heads in confusion. Was he intending to not offend either side? Immediately following that, Yin Xinghao continued, "Sky Yuan serene grass, there's only one stalk in 1,000 years. I believe between the two of you, there must be one who is fake. But the two of you don't know that the medicinal pills which you have obtained are fake." Xia Ji's face turned slightly pale as his slightly plump face was slightly moved. This point wasn't impossible. After all, a stalk of one stalk in 1,000 years. Who could be sure if it was real or fake? "Alchemist Guild's elder Wu Tao, may I trouble you to check both of your medicinal pills in front of everyone?" Yin Xinghao's voice was calm, neither arrogant nor impatient, "so that both of you can rest assured and not argue over this matter." At this moment, an elderly dressed in a white robe walked out from the crowd. The elderly had a head full of white hair which was meticulously tied up with a wooden crown. His white robe was clean. But as he stood up and moved, wherever he passed by, the guests could smell a faint medicinal herb smell. This person was the Alchemist Guild's representative, Alchemist Guild's elder Wu Tao. This elder is willing to help both of you to verify the authenticity. Wu Tao cupped his hands towards Yin Xinghao. Seeing Wu Tao walking out, Yi Qing Luo's eyes lit up slightly. Wasn't this person elder Wu Tao, who had been helping her during the alchemy competition and the alchemy alliance? He didn't expect that the alchemy union would send him as a representative to Yin Xinghao's birthday banquet. She thought that the representative who came to the Northern Wave continent would be the Mu family's second young master. Xia Ji saw that Wu Tao had already taken the initiative to stand up and verify for them. His face was completely overcast. However, the arrow was already knocked on the bowstring, and it had to be released. He took a deep breath and suppressed his anger as he stared sinisterly at Yi Qing Luo. "I'll cooperate with your farce, and whatever request you say, I'll agree to it. But, if it is proven that our medicinal pills are real, you will obediently follow us back to the palace and accept a thorough investigation of your identity." "No problem." Yi Qing Luo snapped her fingers straightforwardly as she turned her head to look at Yin Xinghao. "Sovereign, and everyone present here can be a witness. I hope that North Lawn monarch won't lose his credibility after losing his face." Yin Xinghao nodded and returned to his seat with his hands behind his back. He took a look at his side. Housekeeper Yin had received the moonlight porcelain bottle from Xia Lingling and had yet to leave the banquet. Now that he had received Yin Xinghao's instructions, he was preparing to carry the moonlight porcelain bottle and walk towards Wu Tao. But he heard a deep and cold voice ringing. Chapter 2566. This voice, the faces of the guests who were watching the show froze. All of them turned their gazes towards the direction of the voice in unison. In the first row of the birthday banquet, the young man, who had not said a word since he entered the birthday banquet but had a strong sense of presence, Gue Wu. It was Gue Wu who spoke. Master Gue Wu came to the birthday banquet in Yi Luo's carriage. He also sat in the same row as Yi Luo. It could be seen that the relationship between the two was not ordinary. But, since Yi Luo was targeted, Master Gue Wu did not speak to stop or speak for Yi Luo. Everyone thought that Master Gue Wu did not care about Yi Luo at all. But now, Master Gue Wu spoke. Was he going to speak for Yi Luo? If Master Gue Wu pleaded for Yi Luo, could Sovereign Beilan still insist on bringing Yi Luo back to the palace for a thorough investigation? Everyone looked at Gue Wu nervously and then at Xia Ji, whose face was livid. Under everyone's nervous and expectant gaze, Gue Wu looked calm and emotionless. Send the moonlight porcelain bottle to Sovereign Beilan. Housekeeper Yin was stunned and did not understand the meaning of Gue Wu's words. Everyone was also confused and looked at Xia Ji doubtfully. Was Gue Wu trying to keep the peace? Was he trying to save Yi Luo's face? However, everyone waited for a long time and Gue Wu did not say anything. Cough, 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 a clear voice cleared its throat. Zhou Mo stood up lazily with Kitty Li in his arms. His long and narrow eyes curved into a demonic smile. Wu wants you to take a good look at the elixir in the bottle first. He wants you to see if the elixir in the bottle is the one he gave Sect Master Yin. Yes, who knew that after Elder Wu Tao said that your elixir is fake, you would accuse me of secretly swapping your elixir? Kitty Li was surprisingly obedient in Zhou Mo's arms. She widened her beautiful eyes and nodded solemnly. Zhou Mo's eyes were full of love. He rubbed the head of the person in his arms and smiled gently. Little Kitty is right. To avoid this kind of thing from happening, we have to be careful. Xia Ji's face suddenly became extremely gloomy. However, due to the relationship between Zhou Mo and Gue Wu, he could only swallow his resentment. Xia Ji's face was livid as he watched Butler Yin hand the moonlight porcelain bottle to him. His hands were stiff as he took the moonlight porcelain bottle. After checking the pill inside, he stiffly stuffed it back into Butler Yin's hand. Zhou Mo acted as though he didn't notice Xia Ji's rage points. He was still in a lazy posture. His long and narrow eyes stared at Xia Ji as if he was consuming something. He said in a frivolous tone, Sovereign Beilan, are you sure? I'm certain. Sovereign Beilan spat out each word through gritted teeth. Zhou Mo nodded in satisfaction. You're the ruler of a dynasty, Sovereign Beilan. Don't do anything that will bring shame to the imperial family. Although the Beilan imperial family doesn't have much of a reputation to speak of right now, they still have to maintain some dignity. Xia Ji was so angry that his head was overflowing with blood. He clenched his fists tightly and suppressed his anger. The sweet and fishy feeling in his chest was about to surge into his heart. The surrounding guests who were watching the show all expressed, as expected of Monsieur's friend. His mouth was poisonous and his ability to insult people was not inferior to Monsieur at all. Birds of a feather flocked together. The group of people didn't take the people of the Beilan imperial family seriously at all. However, they had the ghost martial artist keeping watch over them. Chapter 2567. Everyone was discussing fervently. Housekeeper Yin had already passed the medicine bottle into Wu Tao's hands. Wu Tao was the Alchemist Guild's elder. In the pugilistic world, he had a certain reputation. No one had any objections to him checking. Earlier when housekeeper Yin passed the moonlight porcelain bottle to Xia Ji to check, Yin Xinghao had already called for the servants to carry a spacious table and placed it in the middle of the banquet. Wu Tao picked up the medicine bottle and opened the bottle cap. Immediately, a rich medicinal fragrance floated out from the bottle. Faintly, there was a sparkling light which was emitted from the bottle. Everyone's gazes were immediately attracted by that glow. The VIPs present were all influential people from various continents. Even if they didn't know how to refine medicine, they were also clear that the higher the grade of the pill, the smoother the surface of the pill. Furthermore, it would emit a spiritual glow which belonged to the pill. Generally speaking, only God-grade pills would emit this kind of spiritual glow. Could it be? Monarch Bay Land's heaven-returning serene pill was a God-grade pill? If it was a God-grade pill, that heaven-returning serene pill was absolutely not fake. Everyone's eyes widened as they stared anxiously at Wu Tao's expression and the moonlight porcelain bottle, looking at the surrounding people's reactions. Xia Ji scoffed coldly as his sharp eyes looked towards Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's senses were strong and she felt uncomfortable being stared at by that gaze. She frowned as she raised her head and looked over. Then she met with Xia Ji's chilly gaze. Xia Ji's eyes were filled with delight, as though he was ridiculing Yiqing Luo for overestimating herself. However, at the instance when she met his gaze, Yiqing Luo's pink lips curled upwards as she smiled sweetly. Facing him, her pink lips moved slightly as she spat out two words silently, trash. Xia Ji's fingers clenched tightly as his chest heaved up and down violently. Apparently he was infuriated. Hiss, just at this moment, the surrounding crowd suddenly sucked in a breath of cold air. It turned out that Wu Tao had poured the elixir from the bottle into a piece of white velvet cloth that he had prepared beforehand. A total of 3 pills. Each pill was approximately the size of a fingernail. Each pill was emitting a fluorescent glow. Crystal clear, as though it was carved out of a beautiful white jade. This is the heaven-reversing essence nether pill? To be able to take a look at this kind of supreme-grade medicinal pill, I'm already satisfied. This is definitely the real heaven-reversing nether pill. Only a top-notch medicinal pill like the heaven-returning essence nether pill would be so transparent, and only then would it have such a radiance. Why would Sovereign Beilan give a fake elixir to Sect Master Yin as a birthday gift? This must be real. That little girl is still too young. Why would she think of digging her own grave to stall for time? It's a pity that both Master Guiwu and Sect Master Yin are on her side. Now, they've been completely humiliated by that little girl. After everyone saw the 3 elixirs, all the opinions were completely in Xia Ji's favor. Listening to everyone's confident tone, the smug smile on Xia Lingling's face grew wider. Little slut, you still want to take back the Tianyuan nether pill to make a fuss. This time, let's see how she's going to clean up this mess. His face had been slapped resoundingly. Just as everyone was sighing in admiration and the members of the Northern Wave Imperial family were feeling proud of themselves, Wu Tao picked up an elixir, narrowed his eyes and scrutinized it for a long time. He frowned slightly. Hearing the discussions of the surrounding people, he slowly shook his head. No, the spiritual light of a divine-grade elixir is definitely not like this. Wu Tao's words caused the surrounding people to quieten down in an instant. Chapter 2568. Wu Tao raised the elixir pill up high, facing the light from the horizon, his fingers stroking the elixir little by little. This elixir pill is indeed crystal clear and extremely smooth. It also shines with a velvet glow. It is indeed a good elixir pill. Then why did you say that this isn't a divine-grade elixir pill? Xia Lingling said angrily. Wu Tao's words just now almost scared her to death. Xia Ji's face darkened and he said sternly, Elder Wu Tao, look carefully. Don't say things that will cause misunderstandings. The cold and menacing voice made Wu Tao unhappy. He frowned slightly and put down the elixir pill. He looked at Xia Ji and said in an unfriendly tone, "If you don't trust me, you can get someone else to verify the authenticity of the elixir pill." With that, he flicked his sleeves and turned to leave. Yin Qinghao immediately stood up and stopped Wu Tao. "Elder Wu Tao, you are the only one here who is about to be promoted to an herbal grandmaster. You are also the only one who can truly verify the authenticity of the heaven-restoring serene pill. How can Sovereign Balon not trust you?" Then, he looked at Xia Ji and gave him a look. "Don't you think so, Lord Wu Tao? How can you not trust Elder Wu Tao's professionalism in elixir pills?" Xia Ji's face darkened, his eyes quiet and heavy, extremely repressed. After a long while, he said stiffly, "Yes, Elder Wu Tao is an elder of the Alchemy Guild. Of course I trust you." Wu Tao's expression finally softened. He snorted coldly and let Yin Qinghao push him back to the elixir pill. "Elder Wu Tao, just now you said that the glow of this elixir pill is not the spiritual glow of a divine-grade elixir pill. Then what is this light?" Yin Qinghao stood at the side and looked closely at the 3 elixir pills on the white cloth. He asked in confusion. These 3 elixir pills, if they were really the heaven-restoring serene pill, this would be of great help to his profound rank advancement. Wu Tao was still unhappy. He snorted with a straight face and answered, "The spiritual glow of a divine-grade elixir pill is golden, a golden light without any impurities." Golden light? Everyone's eyes shifted to the 3 elixir pills on the white cloth. These 3 pills all glowed with a fluffy white light. That was obviously not the spiritual light of a divine-grade medicinal pill. Could it be, did Monarch Balon really give Sect Master Yin a fake elixir as a birthday gift? The gazes of ridicule and suspicion from countless guests caused Xia Ji to be angered to the point he clenched his teeth tightly, causing his teeth to creak. Xia Lingling flew into a rage out of humiliation, her eyes turning red with anger. Even if the heaven-returning nether pill that Uncle June sent isn't a divine-grade pill, it doesn't mean that it isn't a heaven-returning nether pill. Who set the rule that the heaven-returning essence nether pill must be a divine-grade medicinal pill? Although I don't know much about alchemy, I can be sure that no one in this nirvana realm has ever seen a divine-grade medicinal pill. Even high-grade medicinal pills are rarely seen. Lan Ling Noa also chimed in from the side, "These 3 elixirs should all be high-grade elixirs. Elder Wu Tao, am I right?" Wu Yu's eyes flickered, and she stared at Lan Ling Noa. "Princess Dong Lan is right. These are indeed 3 superior-grade elixirs." Lan Ling Noa smiled gently, but there was pride in her eyes that she was determined to win. Superior-grade elixirs? Although they weren't divine-grade elixirs. That was enough to make everyone present go crazy. Once again, the guests were stirred. Wu Tao stared at Lan Ling Noa without blinking, and asked with interest, "Princess Dong Lan has never come into contact with alchemy?" Chapter 2569. How did East Lan region princess differentiate that these 3 pills are upper-grade pills? Wu Tao asked again. Lan Ling Noa's eyes flashed past a glint of joy. She clutched her brocade robe tightly as her smile widened, intentionally using a humble tone. "From the shape and color of the pills, I can tell. Moreover, although these 3 pills don't have the spiritual glow of God-grade pills, but the surrounding glow is also very clean and pure. So I deduced that these 3 pills' grade is not low." Finishing her words, Lan Ling Noa's face was filled with arrogance as she raised her chin, waiting for Wu Tao's praise. If she could gain the favor of the Alchemist Guild's elder. To make use of this opportunity to enter the Alchemist Guild and become their disciple. She, Lan Ling Noa, East Land's #1 beauty's reputation, would definitely be even more resounding. Wu Tao glanced at her with a smile which didn't look like a smile. But he didn't open his mouth to answer her, whether her guess was right or wrong. Lan Ling Noa pursed her red lips as she was about to open her mouth unwillingly. However, he was interrupted by a sharp female voice beside him. "Elder Wu Tao, since we've confirmed that the heaven-restoring nether pill is a high-grade medicinal pill, shouldn't we also check the medicinal pill in Yi Luo's hand now? Xiao Lingling shot a provocative gaze towards Yi Qing Luo's direction fiercely. This region princess really wants to see what the heaven-returning serene pill in Yi Luo's hands looks like. Xiao Lingling's words instantly diverted everyone's attention. They all shifted their sights towards the young lady who was standing by the side with her arms crossed, looking as though she was watching a show. Lan Ling Nua was so angry that she almost threw up blood. She scolded Xiao Lingling a few hundred times in her heart. That damned Xiao Lingling. Was she purposely going against her? It wasn't easy for her to clear her name and even attract Elder Wu Tao's attention. Xiao Lingling came to create trouble. Lan Ling Nua lowered her head as she shot a glance at Xiao Lingling's peripheral vision, which was filled with an eerie chill. At this moment, indeed no one remembered Lan Ling Nua's evaluation of those 3 upper-grade pills. Miss Yi, quickly take out your pills for Elder Wu Tao to take a look. We all want to see what the real heaven-returning serene pill looks like. Quickly, take it out for a look. The group of hedonistic sons who wished for the whole world to be in chaos started to tease him. While the crowd was discussing, Wu Tao shifted his gaze to the girl in red. At first glance, his heart skipped a beat. He felt that the young lady in front of him was somewhat familiar. But that face was extremely unfamiliar. He searched through his mind, but couldn't find the slightest impression. Elder Wu Tao, sorry to trouble you. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile, her fingertips shook and the celadone bottle in her hand was thrown to Wu Tao. Her smile was extremely clean and straightforward. There was no pretense at all. When he looked at Wu Tao, there was no subservience or deliberate flattery in his eyes. Wu Tao inexplicably had a good impression of this young girl. He stretched out his hand and caught the bottle of medicine that was thrown at him. The inferior celadone medicine bottle was beside the precious moonlight porcelain bottle. It was a stark contrast. Xiao Lingling was the first to burst into laughter, her tone full of disdain. Lowly commoner. How could you have a heaven-restoring nether pill in that inferior porcelain of yours? Ha ha ha. Yi Qing Luo raised her brows indifferently as she smiled, using such a precious moonlight porcelain bottle to store a few inferior pills. Did you think that the inferior pills could become the genuine ones? Her tone was gentle and her smile was gentle. If one didn't listen carefully to the meaning in her words, totally couldn't tell that she was ridiculing Xiao Lingling. Chapter 2570. At this moment, Wu Tao had already pulled out another piece of slightly darker, slightly yellowish cloth as he placed it beside the 3 pills. After that, he opened the bottle. A strong medicinal fragrance seeped into Wu Tao's nose. Wu Tao's hand froze as his eyes suddenly widened. That medicinal fragrance, at the moment it was emitted, it gradually disappeared into the air. Other than Wu Tao and Yin Xinghao who was standing nearby, no one else smelled it. The guests had been paying close attention to the changes in Wu Tao's expression. Seeing him revealing such a shocked expression, the guests burst into an uproar. One must know that when Wu Tao opened the moonlight porcelain bottle, he had never revealed any special astonished or shocked expression. To be able to make Wu Tao, who was used to seeing various kinds of pills, to reveal such an astonished expression. Could it be Yi Luo's celadone bottle? What incredible pill was contained in it? Don't act mysterious. It's not like we can't see or smell it. Earlier when the moonlight porcelain bottle was opened, the medicinal fragrance filled the entire main hall. Just Yi Luo's pill, there's no smell at all. What kind of top-grade pill could it be? Xiao Lingling saw everyone discussing Wu Tao's expression and expressed their curiosity towards Yi Luo's pill, so she couldn't hold it in any longer. She didn't believe that Yi Luo would have any top-grade pill in his hands. Wu Tao's expression congealed as he ignored the surrounding discussions. He slowly lifted the bottle and poured out the elixir inside. A pill the size of a fingernail rolled onto the light yellow silk cloth. After that. There was no after that. One pill? In that celadone bottle, there was only one pill? The crowd couldn't help but burst out laughing. Wasn't he being too stingy? Only one elixir was given as a birthday gift? Did she really think that her pill was the peerless heaven-returning serene pill? Even if it was really the heaven-returning serene pill. North Lawn Monarch had already given 3 pills. This young lady, taking out 1 pill, was she looking down on Qin Yu sect? But, no matter how the surrounding people ridiculed her, Yi Qing Luo maintained a light smile as she crossed her arms, as though she wasn't affected at all. Whereas the 2 people standing in front of the table stared unblinkingly at that pill and the silk cloth. Their expressions were solemn as they didn't say a single word. Had he gone mad from anger? Everyone thought this in their hearts as they craned their necks to look at the pill in front of Wu Tao. In the light yellow silk cloth, a dark and swarthy pill was swaying in the air by itself. To the side, in the white silk cloth, there were 3 crystalline pills, forming a stark contrast. When Xia Lingling saw the black pill, she couldn't help but laugh out loud. This is the heaven-reversing Yuan serene pill you were talking about? Ha ha ha, just this kind of medicinal pill, our Northern Wave Imperial family can grab a whole bunch, okay? How dare he use this kind of pill to fool everyone? That dark and swarthy one was extremely inconspicuous. No matter how he looked at it, it was just a low-grade pill. The way the guests looked at Yi Qing Luo was filled with ridicule. Holding a low-grade pill here and pretending that it was a precious heaven-reversing essence nether pill. He even dared to suggest checking the authenticity of the pills. Where did she get her face from? Now, she had slapped her own face? Yi Luo, now that the outcome has been decided, you must accept your loss. Obediently kneel down and kowtow to admit your mistake. Hearing the surrounding people's ridicule towards Yi Qing Luo, Xia Lingling felt refreshed all over. She turned her head to look at Xia Ji, Uncle Monarch, get someone to capture her back to the palace. She's a spy from another country and even slandered our royal family. Her crime is punishable by death. Chapter 2571. Xia Ji's eyes sunk as he looked at Yi Qing Luo gloomily. His heart was filled with bewilderment and puzzlement. Now, it was obvious that the matter was settled. But this young lady was still so calm. As though she wasn't worried that Wu Tao would announce that her medicinal pill was fake. And totally not worried about what consequences there would be after this. Calm. Which made his heart feel inexplicably uneasy. Uncle Monarch. Xia Lingling called out a few times, but Xia Ji didn't respond to her as she pouted unhappily. She bit her lower lip as her little hands hugged Xia Ji's arm tightly. Both of them were vixens. That damned Yi Luo actually wanted to seduce her uncle. Did she think that she could escape from the charge in this way? Xia Lingling's eyes flickered with a vicious hatred as her gaze swept towards the 10 over royal guards who weren't injured. Go, bring her back to the palace. Those 10 over royal guards looked at one another in dismay and immediately looked towards Xia Ji. You all don't even listen to this princess's words. Xia Lingling was so angry that she stomped her feet as she shook off Xia Ji's arm and charged towards the royal guards, about to hit them. Lingling. Xia Ji's dignified voice stopped Xia Lingling. Xia Lingling was frightened as her eyes turned red as though she was about to cry as she stood there. Xia Ji's gaze was cold and sharp like a blade as he looked towards Yi Qing Luo's direction as he said word by word, since you're willing to bet, you all invite Miss Yi back to the palace. Yes. The royal guards cupped their fists as they speedily moved towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. 10 over figures surrounded Yi Qing Luo in an orderly fashion. Yi Qing Luo's brows rose as her gaze swept past those 10 over royal guards. Her lips curled as she revealed a sneer of ridicule. Her brows were filled with ridicule. Before she opened her mouth, Xia Ji already spoke in a deep voice. Miss Yi, this is the bet between you and me, are you going to go against it? Which ear of yours heard Wu Tao say that my medicinal pill is fake? Yi Qing Luo scoffed lightly as her tone was filled with ridicule. So anxious to get your dog to bite me, don't tell me you have a guilty conscience? Your pill was fake to begin with. Elder Wu Yao is giving you face by not saying anything. You ask everyone here yourself and see who will believe that your medicinal pill isn't fake. Xia Lingling roared angrily. I believe you. I believe it too. And Kitty. In the first row, the representatives of the Heavenly Academy raised their hands. Then, Zomo also raised his hand along with the person in his arms. I believe it too. Those honored guests who originally wanted to ridicule him immediately went silent. Zomo's words represented Gui Wu's words. How could they dare to refute Gui Wu's words? The voices of these people resounded in the silent hall, loud and clear. Xia Lingling's teeth creaked as she stared angrily at Yi Qing Luo, wanting to say something. However, Xia Ji grabbed his arm. Xia Ji's sinister gaze shifted from Yi Qing Luo to Wu Tao. Elder Wu Tao, please give me an accurate answer so that I can give Miss Yi a good lesson. Cough cough cough. This elder indeed didn't say that this young lady's medicinal pill is fake. Wu Tao stared straight at that dark and swarthy medicinal pill as his eyes shone with radiance. This is the heaven-returning serene pill. This is absolutely the heaven-returning serene pill. Wu Tao's eyes sparkled with joy towards the best-grade medicinal pill. Chapter 2572. Elder Wu Tao's words, as well as his expression, caused an uproar in the hall. All the guests looked at Wu Tao in disbelief. They couldn't believe their ears. Xia Lingling's face turned pale. She couldn't accept it. She slammed the table and screamed angrily, impossible. How could her elixir be the heaven-restoring serene elixir? You deliberately helped that bitch to cover up the lie in order to build a relationship with Master Guiwu, right? Her fingers trembled as she pointed at Wu Tao. Her voice became sharper and sharper. You are definitely in cahoots. You did it on purpose. Xia Lingling. Xia Ji recovered from his daze. When he heard Xia Lingling's rude words, his face darkened. He stepped forward and grabbed Xia Lingling, who looked like she had gone mad. Uncle June. Let me go. This group of people are in cahoots with that bitch, that spy from another country. They all want to rebel. They want to overthrow our Xia family. Xia Lingling gritted her teeth and roared. Her eyes were scarlet, and her little face was extremely hideous. Slap. There was a crisp sound of a slap. Xia Ji slapped Xia Lingling's face. You shut up. Xia Ji used all his strength in this slap. Xia Lingling's ears buzzed, and a mouthful of blood spurted out from her mouth. You hit me. Xia Lingling stared at Xia Ji in shock. Her face was red and swollen. She grimaced in pain and tears flowed down. Xia Ji didn't even bother to look at her. He cupped his hands and bowed in the direction of Wu Tao. Elder Wu Tao, Lingling is still young and has a spoiled temperament. Those words were not sincere. They were said out of anger. I hope you don't take offense. The forces of the Alchemist Union were all over the Nirvana realm. They were the target that countless big families and forces wanted to curry favor with. Even he, the emperor of a dynasty. If he offended the Alchemist Union. The Alchemist Union really wanted to destroy a royal family. There were definitely countless forces willing to work for them. In any case, Xia Ji couldn't afford to offend this great Buddha. Xia Ji's initiative to lower his head and apologize did not make Wu Talisman's expression soften. Wu Tao's eyes were cold. She looked at Xia Ji coldly and snorted, You don't have to explain, Sovereign Beilan. If it weren't for Princess Beilan, I wouldn't have known that I'm such a person in the eyes of the Beilan royal family. No, it's not that. Elder Wu Yu, Lingling is just young and has been spoiled by me since she was young. That's why she spoke so rudely. Xia Ji remembered that cold sweat broke out on his forehead. Even when he had heard that Wu Tao was certain that Yi Luo's pill was the heaven-restoring nether pill, he had not been this flustered. One's face reflects one's heart, and words come from one's heart. If it wasn't for the fact that one thinks that the royal family is supreme and is used to being arrogant and despotic, how could it be like this? Monarch Balon, do you still need me to say it? A clear and melodious voice rang out. That voice paused for a moment and continued with a light laugh. If there's no one intentionally guiding her, how would a child say? That elder Wu Yu wanted to climb up to Master Gui Wu? And how would she say? That elder Wu Yu had colluded with another country's spy? Everyone's gazes were fixed on the words that were said, on that red-robed young lady. Yi Qing Luo's lips curled into a smile, revealing an obvious ridicule. Her long and narrow eyes were filled with a mocking smile. Xia Ji was so infuriated by the young lady's ridicule that he started trembling. Chapter 2573. Yi Qing Luo's words, Xia Ji's expression. This made everyone extremely certain that Yi Qing Luo's words were true. For a time, the discussion stopped abruptly. None of the guests dared to speak again and get involved in this matter. He just kept glancing back and forth at those people. His silent gaze made people feel even more stifled. After Wu Tao heard Yi Qing Luo's words, the expression on his face turned even colder and the gaze he shot toward Xia Ji was filled with icy intent. Great. What a great Northern Waves monarch. Since you despise me so much, then there's no need for me to stick to your Northern Waves royal family's cold ass. Xia Ji's body swayed and he staggered a few steps. His face was ashen. Wu Tao's words had clearly expressed his intentions. Henceforth, the Alchemy Union would no longer have any dealings with the Northern Wave Imperial family. Anyone who had anything to do with the Northern Wave Imperial family would be expelled by the Alchemy Union. This also meant that the major powers and clans that wanted to curry favor with the Alchemy Union would choose to sever their relationship with the Northern Wave Imperial family in order to hook up with the Alchemy Union. If he lost the support of the major families and factions, he would not be able to survive. How could the Northern Wave Imperial family continue to hold on? Xia Ji looked at Yi Qing Luo's gaze as his murderous intent intensified. If it weren't for this bitch, their Northern Wave Imperial family would only be able to shine brightly at this birthday banquet. It was the center of attention. It was this bitch who destroyed the Northern Wave Imperial family, destroy everything he had. Xia Ji's eyes became colder and colder. The murderous aura lingered around his body. At this moment, Wu Tao directly grabbed the sparkling and translucent elixir in the white silk cloth on the table. He sneered and said, "This elder took the face of the imperial family into consideration and didn't say anything just now. These elixirs of yours, not to mention high-grade elixirs, they are at most 3 middle-grade elixirs. They can't even compare to the heaven-restoring serene pill. Yet, you still want to use them as the heaven-restoring serene pill to deceive Sect Master Yin. Do you really think that Sect Master Yin doesn't know the apothecary and can't distinguish between the real and the fake?" As soon as these words were spoken, it shocked the surrounding guests, and they all gasped. Monarch Balon's birthday gift was fake? Such a sparkling, translucent, and glowing elixir was fake? And it couldn't even be considered a high-grade medicinal pill? Wasn't he treating Sect Master Yin like a fool and toying with her? You. How is this possible? How can this not be the heaven-restoring essence nether pill? Xia Ji was shocked by Wu Tao's words and immediately came back to his senses. He retorted angrily, "This is the heaven-restoring serene pill that I personally bought and personally supervised. It was refined by a master apothecary." Wu Tao sneered, "This elder can swear on the reputation of the Alchemy Union that these 3 pills of yours are definitely mid-rank pills. And Miss Ye's pill is indeed the returning heaven essence serene pill. They even brought out the Alchemy Guild." Wu Tao's words were definitely true. Wu Tao was an elder of the Alchemy Union. There was no way they would use the Alchemy Union as a joke. Who would have thought, to think that Lord Balon would send fake elixirs to Sect Master Yin? But, they were very curious, how would that little girl have the real heaven-returning essence nether pill in her hands? This was a precious pill that could only be seen once in 1,000 years. No. Absolutely impossible, absolutely impossible. Xia Ji's face was full of disbelief as he shook his head desperately. How could it not be the heaven-restoring essence nether pill? Chapter 2574. No. I didn't. Xia Ji's rebuttal sounded as though he lacked confidence. His face was pale as he stared at Yin Qinghao without blinking. His earlier high spirits had completely disappeared. This is the heaven-recovering serene pill, how could it not be? Elder Wu Tao has already used the Alchemist Guild's reputation to swear, so how could it be fake? Yin Qinghao sneered. Why not North Wave Monarch also use the North Wave royal family's reputation to swear, then? Send North Wave Monarch and Miss Ye's pills over to the Alchemist Guild's chief for inspection. If Elder Wu Tao really slandered North Wave Monarch, then Qin Yu's sect will be at North Wave royal family's disposal in future. Xia Ji's eyes widened. How much trust did he have in Wu Tao for him to make such a righteous promise? No matter how certain Xia Ji was that his pill was the real heaven-recovering serene pill, he was starting to doubt himself now. Looking at Xia Ji's hesitant expression, Yin Qinghao's expression softened. Looks like these few years, North Wave royal family has become more and more confident. This sect master can't afford to support North Wave royal family in future. Please don't step into Qin Yu sect at all. He flicked his sleeves and gave a cold harumph. Housekeeper Yin, send the guest off. I won't. Xia Lingling looked at the Qin Yu sect's guards who were walking towards them as she screamed sharply, "You're the one saying everything. You're just helping that slut. She's just a lowly commoner, how could she possibly have the real heaven-recovering serene pill?" Yi Qing Luo smiled as she looked at the frenzied Xia Lingling. "This pill was given to me by my master." "You're lying. Who's your master? How could your master possibly have the heaven-recovering serene pill?" Xia Lingling pointed at Yi Qing Luo furiously. "You're a spy from another country. You absolutely can't have the heaven-recovering serene pill. Uncle Monarch's pill is fake, yours might not be the real one." TSK. Is there something wrong with Little Region Lord's brain? One moment you said I'm a lowly commoner, and the next moment you said I'm a spy from another country. You North Wave royal family really stuck all sorts of identities onto me. Yi Qing Luo sneered as her eyes were filled with ridicule. You're a lowly commoner. You are a spy from another country. You bitch. Xia Lingling was so angry that she couldn't think normally. She gnashed her teeth and cursed. The rage in her heart burned away her rationality. Xia Ji was so angry that he simply wanted to slap Xia Lingling to death with one slap. As for Yi Qing Luo, who was standing by the side, she couldn't help but give a thumbs up to Xia Lingling, this pig-like teammate. He should be so unreasonable. Only then would she be able to bring out her innocence. Looking at Xia Ji's increasingly ugly expression. The guards of the Qinyu sect had a stern expression on their faces as they demanded the Northern Billow royal clan's people to leave the banquet. The corners of Yi Qing Luo's lips curled up into an extremely shallow sneer. Xia Ji was about to leave the banquet under the forceful request of the Qinyu clan's guards. Yi Qing Luo slowly walked towards Wu Tao as she laughed softly. "Sect Master Yin, today is your birthday, so don't damage your health because of a small matter." Perhaps even the North Wave Monarch didn't know that the pill was fake. Everyone's vision floated towards Yi Qing Luo's direction. They were all puzzled. Why would this young lady speak up for the Northern Wave imperial family that had always been targeting them? Even Xia Ji was stunned. But at the next moment, Xia Ji raised his vigilance as his pair of sinister eyes stared at Yi Qing Luo. As though he was guessing what tricks Yi Qing Luo was going to play. Chapter 2575. The medicinal powder used to moisten medicinal pills was a kind of medicinal substance that protected medicinal pills. It could be used to protect the quality, medicinal effect, and the appearance of the pill. Generally speaking, ordinary alchemists would prepare some moisturizing medicinal powder on them. It was a very cheap medicine. Yi Qing Luo's words, although she was pleading for Xia Ji. But it was obvious that she was ridiculing Xia Ji as a monarch, but he was like a frog at the bottom of a well, unable to even recognize the cheap moisturizing medicinal powder. He was even deceived by others, thinking that it was a top-grade heaven-returning serene pill. Xia Ji was so angry that his ears turned red, but he had no choice but to accept the ridicule from the crowd. To be ridiculed, to become a laughing stock. At the very least, it was better than being accused of trying to deceive the sect leader of the Qinghua sect and treating him like a fool. He suppressed his anger as the corners of his lips curled into an extremely twisted arc. He bowed deeply towards Yin Qinghao, lowering his head, which he thought was noble. Sovereign Yin, I'm foolish, I've been deceived, mistaking this pill as the heaven-returning serene pill. I know my mistake. Every word seemed to be squeezed out from the gaps of his teeth. His eyes were scarlet red as his veins popped out. Yin Qinghao snorted coldly. As a monarch, you can even mess up such a thing, and still put on a complacent face to bully a young lass. It's really an eye-opener for me. Wu Tao's expression was displeased as his eyes turned cold and sharp. I am also very suspicious of Monarch Bei Lan's ability. The duo's humiliation made Xia Ji's expression turn gloomy, as though it was wrapped in a layer of shadow. His entire body tensed up as he endured the anger which was gushing out from his chest. Right, don't forget to pass me the royal family's pass. Yi Qing Luo added another stab with a smile. When Xia Ji heard Yi Qing Luo's voice, the anger in his eyes burned even more violently. He suddenly turned his head around as he stared fiercely at Yi Qing Luo. His gaze seemed as though he wanted to skin Yi Qing Luo alive. However, Yi Qing Luo, who was stared at by this fierce gaze, was leisurely as she smiled sweetly. You must accept your loss, Monarch Bei Lan. Xia Ji's expression was distorted as his eyes were filled with rage as he gritted his teeth. I will pass the pass to you, Uncle Monarch. Xia Lingling looked at Xia Ji in astonishment. The slap on her cheek had tugged at her muscles, making her gasp in pain. Shut up. Xia Ji glared at Xia Lingling furiously. If it weren't for this pig-headed Xia Lingling, he wouldn't have lost his face like this today. Xia Lingling's eyes reddened from the roar. This was the first time she was scolded by her uncle, whom she had always loved dearly. Xia Ji didn't bother about her at all. He cupped his fists and said angrily, Sorry for disturbing Sect Master Yin's birthday banquet. I'll return to the palace first. As soon as he finished speaking, he walked past the guards of the Qinyu sect and strode forward. How could he still have the face to stay in the Qinyu sect? It didn't matter if he knew that the pill he gave was intentional or if he didn't know. The relationship between the royal family and the Qinyu sect was completely severed. Sovereign Balin. Lan Ling Noa, who had been silent all this while, saw that her shield was about to leave and immediately called out, The matter regarding the elixir has been proven to be a misunderstanding, but, regarding the matter regarding Lady Ye's identity, we cannot let this matter rest. Xia Ji's footsteps halted as his brows creased tightly as he stared angrily at Lan Ling Noa. But he saw Lan Ling Noa giving a gentle smile. This concerns the safety of the northern continent, Sovereign Balin can't ignore it. Xia Ji was after all the monarch of a dynasty, so how could he not see through Lan Ling Noa's schemes? Chapter 2576. Xia Ji had designs on Lan Ling Noa's beauty. He loved every beautiful woman. However, it did not mean that he would compromise unconditionally just because of the woman's beauty. Lan Ling Noa thought that she could use her face to use the Northern Wave imperial family to target Yi Luo. That would be a big mistake. Yi Luo, this woman was simply too unfathomable. If he insisted on fighting head-on, he definitely wouldn't be able to gain any advantage. Xia Ji's gaze swept across the first row of seats, the students of the Heavenly Academy, Tao Tao of the 3000 Peach Blossom Academy, and Gue Wu and Zhou Mo, who were sitting at the side and drinking tea silently. These people were obviously Yi Luo's supporters. However, when Lan Ling Noa heard that Xia Ji didn't intend to help her and continued to target Yi Qing Luo, her expression suddenly changed. Then, a cold smile appeared on his face. The warlord mansion has fallen, and the Miaogu clan has become a pawn in Yi Luo's hands. Even the sect master of the Qinghua sect is standing on Yi Luo's side. Monarch Beilan, how long do you think you can last? Lan Ling Nuo's words caused Xia Ji, who was about to leave, to pause once again. His entire body stiffened and he clenched his fists tightly. He slowly turned around and stared at Lan Ling Nuo with a ruthless gaze. He didn't want to waste any more time with Yi Luo. However, he had to admit that Lan Ling Nuo's words struck the thing that he feared the most in his heart. Now, take advantage of Sect Master Yin's birthday banquet. All the seniors from various continents are present. As the North Wave's sovereign, you should investigate Yi Luo's identity thoroughly. This will serve as a warning to all the seniors. Isn't this the best of both worlds? Lan Ling Nuo continued to persuade when she saw that Xia Ji had been persuaded. Xia Ji lowered his head and pondered over Lan Ling Nuo's words. Yuan Zhan, who had received Lan Ling Nuo's signal, took a look at Yi Qing Luo, who was enjoying the show, took a deep breath and said sternly, "Monarch, East Lan Princess is right. You clearly saw the fate of my warlord mansion. Do you really want to see the Northern Wave imperial family reduced to the current warlord mansion?" His eyes became sharper and sharper. Yi Luo, that lowly wench, he obviously used the poison in Kuang Er's body to poison the Miao family's young lady. However, the Miao family is helping Yi Luo to clear his name. It's obvious that she's already standing on his side. For the first half of my life, I wholeheartedly fought on the battlefield for the great rivers and mountains of the Northern Wave continent. Now, for the sake of the Northern Wave continent, they will definitely fight to the death to capture Yi Luo. Echoing each other's accusations made Xia Ji's gaze towards Yi Qing Luo filled with vigilance and hatred. The matter escalated to a dispute between the royal families of the continent. The surrounding guests who were watching the show naturally wouldn't easily open their mouths to get involved in this mess. Everyone looked at each other in dismay. There were also quite a number of people who kept staring in the direction of the Miaogu clan, as if wanting them to refute. However, Miao Yixiong and Miao Rongrong pursed their lips and lowered their heads in silence. This indirectly confirmed Yuan Zhan's words. Everyone's gaze towards Yi Qing Luo was filled with probing. He seemed to be thinking. Was this girl purposely messing with the top forces of the Northern Wave continent so that she could destroy it? Under this strange atmosphere, the young girl, who was the center of attention, burst into laughter. She smiled. That elegant face was like a green lotus blooming. Rippling tears flashed past her charming eyes. It made her all the more charming and enchanting. East Lan Princess, to think that the royal family is something, as if the heavens are big and the earth is big, the most important person in the royal family, seems to be you. Chapter 2577. Lan Ling Nuo's expression turned cold. She gritted her teeth and said, "Do you dare to say that you didn't use every possible means to set up a series of plans against the War King Manor, the Miaogu clan, and the Northern Wave imperial family?" Her fingers were curled up, and her delicate body was shivering, but she still raised her head arrogantly. "Not only did you use your beauty to seduce the young sect master of the Qinghua sect, but you also seduced the young sect master of the Qinghua sect. You even made use of your own sister to seduce young Master Mo, all for the sake of getting Gue Wu to help you. Do you really think that no one knows what you've done?" Lan Ling Nuo had been observing the relationship between the representatives of the Heavenly Academy, Ghost Martial Artist and Yi Luo. Then he discovered. From the beginning of the birthday banquet until now, Zhou Mo continued to play with the girl in his arms. His actions showed that he was doting on the girl in his arms. Lan Ling Nuo immediately understood. Zhou Mo liked the girl called Kitty Li. Zhou Mo was also Gue Wu's only good friend. In other words, Yi Luo had used Kitty Li to seduce Zhou Mo. As a result, he managed to form a connection with the ghost martial artist. Otherwise, why would the martial arts fanatic Gue Wu, who was only interested in martial arts, come forward and stand up for a little slut? Lan Ling Nuo's words immediately received everyone's approval. Kitty Lee, who was confined in Zhou Mo's arms, also realized that her and Zhou Mo's playful behavior had caused Yiqing Luo to fall into a predicament. She immediately struggled to break free from Zhou Mo's embrace. Zhou Mo's arms tightened even more. His long and narrow almond-shaped eyes seemed to be dotted with thousands of stars. He bowed his head, his thin lips lightly touching Kitty Lee's ear. "Little wild cat, you ran down from my arms in such a hurry. Didn't you confirm that woman's words?" Kitty Lee stopped struggling. "Don't worry, don't you believe in little Qing Luo's ability? Let's just sit and watch the show." Zhou Mo looked at the girl in his arms. Her bright eyes were sparkling, and she looked extremely cute. He couldn't help but kiss her eyes. Kitty Lee's body trembled slightly. She immediately raised her hand and hammered Zhou Mo's chest. Zhou Mo buried his head in her neck and laughed softly. His chest heaved up and down, and his devilishly charming face was full of smiles. The interaction between the two was obviously not affected by Lan Ling Nua's words. It didn't seem like it either. The feeling of Kitty Lee seducing Zhou Mo. Lan Ling Nua gritted her teeth in anger. "You still want to deny it?" "Deny?" Yiqing Luo's brows rose, the arc of her charming eyes deepened as she teased. "I don't even put you scums in my eyes. Do I need to waste time to plot against you?" She was smiling. Her pair of charming eyes were like stars, flickering with a dazzling luster. His words were filled with mockery. "To be honest, if I wanted the Northern Billow imperial family to change hands, it would be a trivial matter." Yiqing Luo's words were absolutely not to put on airs. Not to mention the fact that she was a member of the World Mercenary Group, just the authority that she had obtained from the General Hospital. On top of that, Sovereign Beilan had courted death himself today. He borrowed the authority of the headquarters to gather the forces of all the academies in the Northern Wave continent and casually exerted pressure. How long could the Northern Wave imperial family last? If it took more than 3 days, it would be considered her loss. Yiqing Luo's extremely arrogant words had completely infuriated Xia Ji. "Little silly lass, who gave you the guts to insult the royal family? You want to stir up trouble in front of me? I'm going to take your life." His expression sunk as he flew into a rage. His figure moved as he struck his palm towards Yiqing Luo's direction. As he waved his palm, the earth shook and the mountains shook. A strong, profound energy surged downwards. No one in the first row moved. Apparently, no one intended to save Yi Luo. Seeing that, Xia Ji's eyes turned sharp as his eyes were filled with wanton murderous intent. Looked like Gui Wu indeed didn't treat Yi Luo seriously. Then he would take this chance to kill her. This damned slut, how dare she humiliate him time and time again. Just as Xia Ji's palm wind was about to land on Yiqing Luo. Suddenly, a surge of profound energy that was like a surging tide directly struck Xia Ji's palm wind. In an instant, a terrifying and powerful pressure filled the entire hall. The guests present felt their hearts jolting fiercely. Chapter 2578. Xia Ji's body was thrown onto the ground by that majestic energy. He rolled several rounds. With a wah sound, he spat out a large mouthful of blood, staining his dragon robe red. He propped himself up as he stared weakly in front. A whirlwind brushed past his cheek. Xia Ji's eyes only managed to catch a glimpse of brilliant purple color. "Ah!" The surrounding guests cried out in shock as they couldn't help but stood up as they looked ahead in shock. Yiqing Luo had already thought of a way to deal with Xia Ji's palm strike. But before she could make a move, he felt a familiar aura seeping into his nose. Her petite body suddenly stiffened. Her eyes stared ahead in a daze. The man was dressed in a billowing purple robe, and as he walked, he drew an eerie and piercingly cold arc. His eyes stared straight at Yiqing Luo. His obsidian-like peach blossom eyes seemed to be embellished with resplendent starlight, dazzling Yiqing Luo's eyes. That face was as peerless as ever. With just a glance, she felt as if she was attracted by something, wanting to drown in his beauty. Yiqing Luo's throat was a little dry. Her pink lips trembled as her eyes gazed in delight at the man who was walking over, Xian. He was back? Was it his original self? Who was back? The man's footsteps were heavy and slow as he emitted a majestic and vigorous aura, oppressing the surrounding crowd in an overbearing manner. Until he stood in front of Yiqing Luo. His long arms stretched out as he hugged Yiqing Luo's petite body tightly. His strength was extremely strong. As though he wanted to rub her into his body. It was so big that Yiqing Luo found it hard to breathe. However, there was a smile on her face, and a thin layer of mist appeared on her beautiful eyes that were gleaming with light. The familiar sandalwood scent lingered around her nose. The familiar warmth enveloped everything about her. It was Ah Xian. Her Ah Xian was back. Overlord. It's the Overlord. Why would the Overlord? Why would he be here? It's really the Overlord. Absolutely. Absolutely. It can't be fake. The surrounding guests started to stand up as they shouted excitedly. They couldn't contain their excitement. Lord Dizun actually came to attend the Qinhua sect leader's birthday banquet. Compared to Guo Wu, this Dizun was even more mysterious and unpredictable. Wait. What is the relationship between His Majesty and Lady Yi? Some of the guests looked in disbelief at Dmo Xian, who was hugging Yiqing Luo tightly in his arms. There was a faint guess in his heart, but he didn't dare to say it out. The other guests were also shocked. They could no longer remain calm. Dizun. Xia Ji held his chest and his face was ashen. Xia Lingling and Lan Ling Nua were so shocked that they jumped up from the ground. Their fingers trembled as they pointed at the two people who were tightly hugging each other. They could not believe what they were seeing. Dizun and that bitch Yi Luo? What was going on? How could Yi Luo be related to the Overlord? Furthermore, their relationship was clearly not ordinary. Lan Ling Nua was the most shocked as her breathing was so hurried that she almost couldn't catch her breath. Impossible. How could the Overlord possibly be with that slut Yi Luo? He isn't, not with that slut Yiqing Luo. Her voice abruptly stopped. Yi Luo? Yiqing Luo? Dmo Xian. Could it be? Chapter 2579. Overlord. Xia Lingling bellowed unwillingly. She pushed away Lan Ling Nua's stiff hand and rushed forward a few steps, pointing at Yiqing Luo. Her eyes were filled with hatred. Overlord, you must have been cheated by this woman. She is a fickle slut. Oh. Dmo Xian raised his brows, his narrow peach blossom eyes curved into a treacherous cold arc seeing Dmo Xian's reply. Xia Lingling's heart was thumping non-stop. She couldn't suppress the smile on her lips, her clenched fists were clenched in agitation. That slut, she seduced Master Guo Wu, and even seduced the young matriarch of Qinhua sect in public. Xia Lingling's tone was filled with hatred. When Yin Yanxiu heard this, his face instantly turned pale. What nonsense are you talking about? The person in front of him was the legend of Nirvana Realm, the legend of Nirvana Realm. Looking at the atmosphere between Yi Luo and the Overlord. It was obviously the kind of relationship between a man and a woman. Said Yi Luo seduced him? Wasn't that the same as saying he and the Overlord were fighting over a woman? Even if he really secretly admired Yi Luo. Now the Overlord was standing here. How would he have the guts to talk about admiration? Dmo Xian's dark red thin lips slightly rose. His slender fingers gently hooked Yiqing Luo's chin. In his peach blossom eyes, there seemed to be circles of whirlpools. Captivating one's soul, making one unable to escape. Seduced the young matriarch? He was obviously smiling. But the words he spat out were filled with an eerie chill. Even Yiqing Luo couldn't help but feel a chill down her spine, unable to maintain the smile on her face. Xia Lingling's eyes lit up, wild with joy. thinking that she had provoked the relationship between the overlord and Yi Luo. She was getting more and more delighted and excited. Anyway, the royal family had already cut off all contact with Qin Yu sect. She didn't care about offending Qin Yu sect. Immediately, she looked at Yin Yanxiu with a cold smile. Her eyes no longer had any charming charm. If she hadn't seduced you, how could you possibly invite her to the birthday banquet personally? Yin Yanxiu, don't tell me that you have no improper thoughts towards Yi Luo. Yin Yanxiu opened his mouth to retort. But when he heard Xia Lingling's last sentence, he couldn't refute it no matter what. It was this moment of hesitation. This made Xia Lingling even more certain that her guess was correct. Look! Overlord, this is the woman you are protecting. With such a good backer like you, she's still flirting around. She's a bitch by nature. Before he could finish his sentence, Xia Lingling only felt a strong gust of wind blowing towards her. Then, he felt a sharp pain on his face. She screamed in pain. Just as he opened his eyes, before he could even see what was happening in front of him clearly, Zhang Xian's eyes widened. Her chin seemed to have been pierced by something. With a kacha sound, it was unloaded. Xia Lingling let out a blood-curdling scream. This sound was extremely short and it stopped abruptly. It was as if something had suddenly cut off his voice. He could not make any sound at all. At the same time, the surrounding guests started to draw in cold breaths. Their faces were filled with shock as their eyes widened in shock. They saw it with their own eyes. At the moment when Xia Lingling screamed, a burst of profound energy turned into a sharp wind blade, directly cutting off Xia Lingling's tongue. Blood spurted onto the ground. Chapter 2580. Lingling. Xia Ji regained his senses from the shock as he looked at Xia Lingling, who was covered in blood and lying on the ground, as he went into a daze once again. His eyes were bloodshot and the arm which stretched out towards Xia Lingling started to bulge with green veins. Xia Lingling was his sister. The only proof left behind. Because of him, his sister, his brother-in-law, all died a violent death in order to let him sit firmly on the North Wave monarch's position. Because he had let his sister down. He had always indulged this niece of his and doted on her very much. Now, seeing Xia Lingling's tongue being cut off and lying on the ground covered in blood, this made him recall several years ago when his sister was also lying on the ground covered in blood. How dare you talk about this lord's woman? Dmo Xian gave a cold smile as there wasn't any tenderness and sweetness in his eyes when he was facing Yi Qing Luo. That pair of eyes which seemed to be blooming with peach blossoms. A stretch of icy cold, mixed with bloodthirsty malevolence. This is just a small lesson. Xia Ji was filled with grief and indignation as he wanted to seek justice for Xia Lingling, but under this icy cold gaze, it slowly subsided. His entire body stiffened as he looked at the young lady who was nestled in Dmo Xian's arms. The expression on his face started to distort bit by bit. No wonder, this Yi Luo was so arrogant and unrestrained, as though nothing was in his eyes. No wonder, even Gui Wu and Zhou Mo would stand on her side. No wonder, she had the real heaven recovering serene pill on her. Because this Yi Luo was the overlord's man. She and the overlord had an intimate relationship. Since when did the overlord have such a woman who could get close to him appeared by his side? Xia Ji still remembered it clearly. When Dmo Xian appeared, he even said one sentence. Yi Qing Luo's guts was given by him. Xia Ji suddenly felt his legs turning into jelly as he half knelt on the ground as his face turned deathly pale. Finished. Everything was finished. Offended the overlord. Offended the imperial palace. He had no chance to turn the tables. No wonder Yi Luo made a solemn vow earlier. It was just a matter of minutes for her to change the ruler. With the overlord as her backing, she wanted to destroy the entire North Wave continent. No one could resist. Even this lord can't bear to hurt the person, how dare you hurt her? Dmo Xian's eyes were dark and gloomy, all of you, have to pay the price. When his words fell, Dmo Xian glanced sideways, his gaze was fixated on Yiqing Luo without blinking. His deep peach blossom eyes flashed with a luster that made Yiqing Luo blush. He lowered his head and kissed her earlobe. His deep and mellow voice floated into her ears. She felt an indescribable itch all over her body, from her bones to her bones. I'll deal with you later. As soon as he finished speaking, his figure instantly left Yiqing Luo's side. His 5 fingers flew straight in the direction of Xia Ji. Ugh! Xia Ji let out a short exclamation. Dmo Xian gripped her neck tightly. His eyes were cold as he slowly walked past Lan Ling Nua and Yuan Zhan, as well as the onlookers. Overlord. We didn't do anything, it's the North Wave monarch. North Wave royal family's people have been targeting. Right. We're just passers-by attending Sect Master Yin's birthday banquet. When the guests were swept by him, their legs couldn't help but turn to jelly. Chapter 2581. Xia Ji struggled desperately. The feeling of suffocation in his neck made his entire face turn red, and his eyes kept bulging out. From Dmo Xian's body, that overbearing oppressive force, made his chest felt as though it was being squeezed by something. He was afraid. He panicked, wanting to escape from Dmo Xian's boundary. However, the 5 fingers on his neck were tightly clasped around his neck. He had no strength to struggle at all. Yuan Zhan and Lan Ling Nua were so scared that their faces turned pale. His entire body was trembling non-stop. Di Zun could even kill Monarch Beilan. Then, wouldn't it be even easier to kill them? You. What are you waiting for? Hurry up and save Lord Beilan. Don't tell me you want to see your king die? Lan Ling Nua turned her head and saw the Imperial Guards at the side. She hurriedly shouted at them. The royal guards looked at Dmo Xian and each and every one of them were scared witless, so how would they dare to save their own monarch? Furthermore, whether or not he could continue to be a monarch was a problem. Oh, Xia Ji's painful voice once again entered Lan Ling Nua's ears. Xia Ji's face was already extremely distorted. It was a picture of death. Then, he looked at Xia Lingling, who was still twitching on the ground and had lost her tongue. Lan Ling Nua's expression became increasingly unsightly. If her guess was right, the Overlord would definitely stand on Yiqing Luo's side. Kill everyone who had made Yiqing Luo unhappy. None of them could escape. Lan Ling Nua's eyes flashed and she suddenly grabbed Yuan Zhan's arm. With a grave expression, she said, since Lord Di Zun isn't going to let any of us go. In order to survive, we can only rely on ourselves. Yuan Zhan's body turned cold and stiff due to the fear of Dmo Xian. When he heard Lan Ling Nua's words, he only turned his head stiffly. His face was still filled with unconcealable fear. Lan Ling Nua's eyes flickered with a piercingly cold light. From the corner of his eyes, he glanced unnoticeably towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Yuan Zhan's pupils shrank as he grabbed Lan Ling Nua's hand. Their eyes met. He could see the ruthlessness in the other party's eyes. After that, the two of them swiftly separated. One left and one right, speedily flying towards Yiqing Luo's direction. Little bitch. Even if I die, I'll drag you down with me to hell. Yuan Zhan growled in anger. His eyes were filled with crazed killing intent. His palm was like an eagle's claw, grabbing towards Yiqing Luo's face. It seemed like he was ready to cut off all means of retreat. He had offended Di Zun. Either way, he would die. Since Di Zun thinks so highly of this girl, he would use this girl to threaten Di Zun. If he could survive, then everyone would be happy. If he could not survive, he also wanted to kill this bitch who destroyed his war king's mansion and disturbed his plans. To tell the truth, Yuan Zhan and Lan Ling Nua's speed towards Yiqing Luo wasn't considered to be very fast. However, Dmo Xian was still holding onto Xia Ji's neck. His face was devilishly charming and cold. Gui Wu, Heavenly Academy's representative, 3,000 peach blossoms and the rest were also sitting motionless. Yuan Zhan's heart was filled with an inexplicable feeling of unease. But, the arrow was nocked. He had no other way out. Yuan Zhan made up his mind. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he unleashed his dark force. It had turned into a sharp blade. Go to hell. You're tuning into the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.